thought he was dead.
No!
Oh my God, thank goodness.
Don't you say those words out loud. The man is a national treasure.
For a nation he's not even from, I agree.
I know.
Hello, and welcome to the Original Remake Podcast. My name is Pat, and I'm joined by Amy.
Hello.
Andrea.
Hello.
And Nick.
Oh, hi.
And today we are discussing the 2001 Artificial Intelligence, aka AI.
Sir, I do believe the name is AI : artificial intelligence.
Damn, you're right. You're right. So this is this is Amy's pick, but Amy is tired. And so I'm going to do a little bit of a summary for us.
That's a shame because I rather enjoy hearing Amy talk.
Amy.
Oh,
Amy.
Do you want to...
Amy.
I can do a quick minute. What? No, like one sentence explaining the movie.
Do it.
Do it up.
Do us proud.
Okay,
One
let me
really
think.
long run-on sentence.
Generally, this movie is about a mecha human built for its only sole purpose to love one person and going on a journey to figure out how to get that one person to love them back.
Yeah. It's a Pinocchio live action film.
And I have some objections with that example of, and I know it is based off of, in general, the story of Pinocchio because of the very similarities, but there's a lot of differences between the movie, how it ends, and the actual story of Pinocchio.
Sure, it's not a beat for beat remake, but it's very much inspired. It's like a future, it's like a sci-fi version of Pinocchio, which I think is a great one-line selling point. Like, imagine we walk into a movie studio trying to sell our movie and we're just like, cyberpunk Pinocchio, go. Done. $100 million right there.
Yeah. Sign and deliver.
See also Blade Runner 2049?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Well, that came after this, so yeah.
So this ripped that off?
It's different though, even though it's based in the same world.
Yeah.
When I watched this movie, I felt like this was a cross between Blade Runner and 2001: A Space Odyssey.
And a lot of people actually did state that they got the Blade Runner feeling. One of the
I mean, they're definitely
of the movie.
It's definitely inspired by cyberpunk, and a lot of film cyberpunk is, Blade Runner is like the birth of like popular cyberpunk as far as like movies and TV shows go for the most part. This is a bizarre film so far as kind of its production goes. This was first picked up, I think famously, this is kind of like a well-known story. Stanley Kubrick was originally going to make the film. He wanted to do David as like a computer-generated character and was not able to do it with the technology. So later on, I think as his health was declining, he passed it over to Steven Spielberg, who worked kind of through to the final product and directed the film. And I believe the film is dedicated to Stanley Kubrick, if I'm not mistaken. But more than anything else, that story just makes me want to see what Stanley Kubrick would have done with this film. Not that Steven Spielberg isn't a fantastic director, but
he's no Kubrick.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he is. Like he's done some amazing films, and like Stanley Kubrick's done some real like weird ones too that no one talks about. But
doesn't this movie just seem like it's 3 parts? Like 3 separate acts.
Yes.
Very much so. Like you could have actually released 3 movies, but
it's very Hero's Journey-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember reading something about the way the film was produced, and like Spielberg was saying something about how like people were saying, this part was Kubrick and this part was Spielberg, and people were saying stuff about how, oh man, the flesh fair, that had to have been Kubrick, and Spielberg's like, no, that's my idea. Like Kubrick had all of the soft, heartfelt things, and I had all of the disgusting, horrifying, violent things.
Right. You would think the mother David and his mother story would be pure Spielberg, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but so before we kind of move on and talk too much about the film, let's kind of touch base on like when did we first see this film? Because I saw it when it first came out. I was very young. Is this everyone's second time seeing it? Like we all saw it when we were younger. Is that correct?
Nope.
No,
You
we've got
didn't
a
see it
first timer
before
in the
this.
house.
I've never
Really?
seen it.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
I cried.
Yeah.
I mean, I cried too,
So-
but I own the DVD. We watched the DVD.
God, the end really, the end
And
is
the bonus feature.
that's right. That's
The
correct.
bonus DVD.
See, kids, DVDs were these things. No, I'm just kidding. Um, the end is a real tearjerker. You know, even for me, like it's an emotional thing, and at the end of the film, and I'm just going to jump right into the a little bit of spoilers here. I always loved the ending of the film because, and I remember people not liking it at the time, but it's like thousands of years later now aliens have shown up. I was like,
Not
this
aliens.
is
That's what I
awesome.
thought too. I was
Not
like,
aliens.
why did we get a ham-fisted Deus Ex Machina alien thing in here? Like,
Not
what is
aliens.
this? And
What is it?
apparently they were
What happens to David if you give him and his kind 2,000 years to evolve?
Oh yeah, okay. So they become the robot people, but whatever. That's
Yeah.
like aliens.
But the
They're
thing
not
is
aliens.
that it wasn't just like us that understood that, like, didn't understand that they weren't aliens. Like, I was reading a couple of critic comments, and one or two of them were like, "I thought it was aliens," and it's like, no,
There's so many nods to
right?
the other
there
androids in
are.
the show, like the memories showing up behind the faceplate. Like one of the bots in the flesh fair projected his emotions onto the face screen and things like that. It did really kind of nod back to other parts of the film. I thought it was very well done.
Yeah, I love their ship. Like it's just just
Smart
pieces
plates.
just plates that kind of like move off and do other stuff. Yeah, I just thought that ending was really, really well done and kind of unique.
I love that they put limits on things and stuck to them. You can bring someone back, but only for a day. Like that, I've said that with so many different films that we've reviewed. What's the point of setting up arbitrary rules and limits if you're just going to laugh in the face of them and change them to suit the plot? Like, I love that they built in limits to this one, and then you had to overcome them. It kept it engaging.
Yeah. Yeah. Andrea, I kind of want to jump over to you because again, it's your first time seeing this. What are some of the things that you really liked about the film or didn't like? But it sounds like you like it.
I liked it. It was weird. I thought that the mom needs some serious therapy, and I was like, I just didn't understand the relationship with the mom and the dad in the beginning. The dad in the beginning is like, "Oh, well, I think you'd really like this animatronic, this robot boy," and then she activates him, and he's like, "Oh, well, we can get rid of him, such and such," and it's just like, I don't like that whole. I feel like that is the actual logical conclusion of what would happen. You'd have the biological kid teasing or tricking the robot, and the humans can't deal with the way the robot sees black and white things, and then they get rid of it. I feel like that makes sense, because I feel like that in many other movies and media that have like a sort of robot uprising or a organic versus machine, that happens a lot. Like the organics are like, "Oh God, we don't like this. Let's get rid of this."
Yeah, the knee-jerk reaction and panic.
Right. And I think that Haley Joel Osment is absolutely fantastic. He is insane. I remember reading also that while he was preparing for this role, he made sure that he didn't blink. was an 11-year-old
interesting.
who, like, in preparation of the role, made sure that his blinking was sporadic enough while he was on camera to make it look artificial.
Yeah, it is a great, back in that early 2000s, I mean, post Sixth Sense, he was a huge child star, as big as
Yeah.
like the kid from Home Alone was back in the day. And I mean, that performance, he was really just
It
fantastic.
was so
Yeah.
good. And
yeah.
what's funny is that if you look at a picture of him now, he still looks the same, only with facial hair. It's just really
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
And he's still acting too. He is
He
still
is.
acting.
I wish
He's one
he
of
was
those
something-
happy he got out of the whole child
Yeah.
acting.
I wanna
I
jump in on something you said,
wish
Andrea.
I wish I could see him in something recent, but anyway, sorry.
It was in The Boys.
He was in The Boys, but
Oh.
like for one episode.
Yeah.
I gotta finish that.
I want to jump in to something you said at the start there. The stuff with the mother, I found that to be fantastic. And there's not many films. I talk about this a lot, where films rush setup storytelling, and
This did not rush anything at all, and it was
Did not rush
great.
it.
No.
Exactly.
I think it rushed the very first bit of it.
You mean like
because-
the introducing the bot and like the parents
Yeah.
not having that discussion, and
Yeah.
I agree, but I think I mentioned Way of Water, Avatar:
More
The
of
Way of
the-
Water multiple times, but the setup in that film is fantastic, and this does a great job of like literally spending the first 30 to 40 minutes just in a house, and you don't know what's happening outside this house. You don't know how the world is falling down with this climate change. And to Amy's point, you said it feels like a movie of thirds, and it literally feels like it's cut into thirds. It feels like you're at the house, and then there's one line that the mother says that I absolutely love. She says, "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the world."
And then it's
Yeah.
the next
Oh
scene.
And what a
yeah.
fantastic line. And then all of a sudden he's in the real world and he has
Yeah.
no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you cut to kind of the third part, which is kind of like the getting to the end of the world, the Manhattan. Very clever. And then the whole, fairy robot stuff. So
I agree that they took their time with the development of David and the relationship with the mother, and then the kind of
conflict with the other kid.
conflict with the other son.
The little shithead.
Is it Martin? Is Martin the name of the kid? I can't remember.
It
Yes,
is Martin.
it's Martin.
Okay.
Um,
Fuck you, Martin. We hate you.
Yeah, we do
fucking
hate you.
fucking human. I'm glad you're extinct. Anyways, go on.
I liked that portion of it. I liked like you said, that they took the time to develop that properly. But I found it jarring in the beginning where dad comes home with a robot, mom literally flips shit and says, no, get that thing out of my house. And then
Yeah.
on
In hindsight, the dad should have listened to the woman and said, like, okay,
No, no,
get
no,
it
no.
out of the house.
No. Like she barely conceded the point to let the thing stay in the house for a day or two.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's reading the codes to become its mom. Like, where did that come from? Why did we get there?
But that's the thing. That is a juxtaposition of the irrationality of human nature right next to the logic
Yeah.
of being a robot.
I guess I can see that.
I think you could do it in a way, you could make it easier by just getting rid of the conflict between the husband and the wife and saying they both agree to it, but the wife's maybe hesitant. Then you don't have to like skip a bunch of the conflict. You can just have it being weird and her getting used to it and growing to love it naturally, which I think is the point, right?
I don't think that fits either. I think there needs to be some apprehension to bringing the bot home and keeping the bot home from Monica. I think that needs to be there to kind of allude to, what does society see of these bots? What does it look like? What is the stigma around this? Because that's where a lot of that came from. So I do think that still needs to be there. I just think we didn't get to see the thought progression of Monica and her rationalization of how this thing is occupying space in her house to what she came to end up being of, I get to be the mother of a child I just have to read these words.
But we
didn't see the in between there, how she got there.
But it's not her story. It's David's story. And we're seeing it through his eyes. And we're taking on that feeling that David has of not understanding why mommy is making the decisions she's making. Which ultimately kind of puts you in that position that many children who are like
interesting,
like many children have that feeling of like, well, why doesn't mommy love me?
Interesting. No, the changing the perspective to say that the beginning of that movie was not the perspective of the humans, it was the perspective of David, really kind of made that click for me. That makes a lot more sense thinking of it that way.
Yeah, that's fair. Let's move on to kind of the second part. And again, it's like I said, AI feels like it's like 3 short films put together.
Very long. How long was this movie?
It was
2.5
hours.
Two and a half.
I mean, it's
Which
not that long for what
2001
happens.
In 2001 was long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the second part, we go to the Flash Fair, and then we go to, what is it, Rouge City? The kind of like
the
Las
new
Vegas
Las
of the
Vegas.
future.
Which is a Las Vegas of the future with a lot more butts.
Holy crap, I didn't pick up on any of that when I originally saw this in the theater, by the way. Like, I don't know if it was being young and naive or what, but like I did not pick up on the hyper sexualization.
I did not realize that those lights were actually a vulva.
Yeah. Hey, here's a building where you can walk into someone's vagina. Sorry. I love the Flash Fair stuff. I really think it is relevant today, this kind of like, especially in the internet age, of this kind of like mob rule. The only thing I didn't like about the Flash Fair is the crowd turned out to like save the kid, and that kind of annoyed me.
I mean, the crowd didn't know that it was a robot, and
they thought it was a real kid.
Right. And when the thing is screaming, my name is David, please help me. It's like,
Mechas don't plead for their life.
Right. And it's an example of mob rule turning again to say, oh shit.
On a dime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this is screaming like a child. We've never seen this kind of tech before because it's a new experimental thing. Oh crap.
Yeah. I will say I'm a huge fan of Brendan Gleeson as an actor, not a huge fan of his acting in this film.
Yeah.
Not his best role. Anyone disagree with that?
Time to do anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Very one-dimensional character. Hates mechas, makes a job out of it. That's all you get.
It's like, what is the equivalent of that?
Honestly, in that Flesh Fair, I was just realizing that was really the only part in this movie. If you could go on any spectrum from pro-human to like anti-human, that's the only section. It's like 5 minutes. So in retrospect, are we supposed to be on all of the mecha side this whole entire movie?
Again, it's not. It's a film from David's perspective. He was only there for a short period of time.
And what in that mind where it's supposed to be just one thought process of I'm here to love this person, one person. He's getting no perspective of any humanity, truthfully, no perspective, but yet he wants to become a real boy.
Well, because I feel like the Pinocchio story.
I just feel like with all of his stories and all of his adventures, I mean, he basically tries to kill himself at the end. If you have that mentality and morality built into your mecha system, I wish I'm jumping ahead.
No, that's okay.
I saw that part and I was like, oh Jesus.
But would an AI do that though? And if so, does that mean it's gone past its original manufacture programming? And then would that surpass wanting to be?
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think the film intends this, but there's something to be said for like, if you ever have the urge to kill yourself, you're probably not a robot anymore.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like if you can make, you know what I mean? If you have like the mania to like, to do that, like, you know what I mean?
I don't know. I think it's more about questioning your own existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he sees all the dolls of himself, right?
Yep.
And he, you know what I mean? Like
Existential
that's his lowest point.
dread.
Yeah, like that's his lowest point is like, I am a product, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
But the
he
thing
also
is that he understands he's a robot.
well, no, he understands that he's a robot that wants more, and they're just bots. Like he sees the functional version of himself sitting in the room when he gets to Manhattan. And he tries to have a conversation with it, and he gets angry.
Yeah, he's like, oh my God, and he kills it.
And he kills it. And that to me is the moment where and they kind of go through some exposition and explain this part of it too just after, but how when he finally goes through and has that emotional reaction that was what the company was looking for from him. What was it, Cybertronics?
Something like that.
Yeah.
But they that's what they were looking for from him. That's why they let him go and just kind of tracked him from a distance. They were letting him figure it out on his own because that was the only way you could create sentience in a robot. And
Right.
and the final step to that was not just understanding your existence, but defending it when challenged. And that's what he went through in that room where he saw the other version of himself and said, no, I'm David. I'm the important one. I have a sense of self. I'm the one that's going
I'm
through
special.
this. I'm
I'm
special. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's literally
that's
like
to me
it's
when it
literally
happened.
like the ego killing the self, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And
Freud would have a lot to say about this film.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the moment that David became kind of self-aware in that way that they were alluding to throughout the film. And you were just given awareness. And then you were told by your creator that you were just the experiment to give awareness to everyone else and that you're done now.
Yeah.
Like, I think it played through.
It's like you also have to instill in that being that it is an experiment and it needs to expect that because otherwise it'll lose its damn mind.
Yeah. And what happens in a computer when you have an unhandled exception? You get a blue screen and it reboots.
You get HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey. Thank you, Kubrick. That's what you get. That is literally what happened.
Yeah.
The machine was told to lie. It went against its programming and was like, I can't do this. Daisy, give me your answer due as my memory chips are being pulled out and I'm going crazy. Like,
I think it's a bit different than the situation we're talking about here.
I mean,
This
it is, but that's kind of a Kubrick thing too.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I say about the ending? I didn't like that Professor Hobby, aka William Hurt, R.I.P., fantastic actor, just lets David leave. Like one of the most best scientific breakthroughs in a generation. He's like,
and you let
all
it
right,
run
I'm going
away.
to walk off screen now, and you'll never see me again. Feel free to jump off the building if you want to. What?
I thought that was a perfect representation of an egomaniac human.
I mean, it's also the representation of what humanity's done. Like, it's a representation of what humans did to the robots. Like, they turned their back on them for 5 seconds, and then they did their own thing.
I was saying more along the lines of his ego. Like, oh, well, I just explained to him how important he is. Of course he's going to just sit here and be a good little robot that I made.
I mean, you would argue that some parents also have that point of view. Oh, well,
But,
I just
but
told you that I love
just
you and that
watched-
you're special. So, of course, you're not going to be depressed.
Yeah. He's been watching David, though, run away constantly.
That's
the idea that he's
fair.
going to stay in the room. I think they just didn't want to deal with that conflict. And that's one of my issues with the film overall is that
Interesting.
I feel that William Hurt's character, first, that very first scene is very out of place. That
I hate
I
it.
don't care for that at all. I would literally, I'm normally anti, what's it called, monologue or
Yeah.
what do they call it? What's the actual name for it?
Where what?
Grandstanding?
No, where you talk where you do a talk over
Oh,
A voiceover.
a voiceover. I mean,
Voiceover.
I'm generally anti voiceover because most films don't need it. But if a film needed it more than ever, it's that, they talk about the climate change stuff, um, which is fine. I don't understand how New York City can be that much underwater and then like the Delaware Bay can just be magically not. But besides that point, I think they should have just done a voiceover with William Hurt because that classroom scene is just so out of place. And then I thought, there's no payoff to this aside from, David coming in at the end, but like it's a cool example of like what a robot is, but like it's just so long of a scene and it's so out of place. And I would just rather have them come up with something else, even if it's a voiceover.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm struggling with that because there was a lot of exposition in there that needed to happen. Like we as the viewers needed to know and understand where the state of development for humanoid robots was. And yes, you're going to get some of that from the Flesh Fair and Gigolo Joe and whatnot, but you're not going to get the depth of what Cybertronics is trying to do with their mechas without something like that.
Without a
And I don't think a
being
voice
behind the curtain, so to speak.
exactly
Stick his finger in your mouth and pop out your circuits.
Yeah, like you need to have that moment to kind of really like set the tone for where the world is because you're not going to get it in the movie.
No, because the first
Yeah.
half he spends in the house. He doesn't know what the world is.
Yeah.
They don't have an automated robot thing that does their chores for them.
Yeah,
A
so
Mr. Handy, if you will.
nice. I mean, those exist though because during the pool party, one of the other kids says, "Oh, our butler mecha does this and that. Well,
Right.
check this out."
But David's family doesn't have that.
True. True.
They probably could afford it though.
Class warfare in AI and go.
But
Oh,
that's
Jesus.
that's one thing that the film explores, right? The David's family is upper crust, and most people don't live like that, right?
Right.
Like David's family are like high level, you know, like that house has got to be expensive. Like that's got to be like an executive level house, right? Just you know what I mean? So he's really kind of like he's born into the upper crust and not not the doldrums that most people and mechas would serve in. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know, because like Nick said, the other kids talk about having like a butler and this and that, and this family.
Well, right, all
doesn't.
those kids are upper crust too. That's like you know what I mean?
So you're saying that David's family is like upper class, but like
Yeah.
the bottom of the upper class, kind of.
I mean, they're not like Jeff Bezos, but like they're like an executive.
I think they have to be middle management at Cybertronics because if you go at it the first time, yes, they make a lot more money than the average Joe. They have
Yeah.
to. They also have to be at least middle management level at Cybertronics to be even considered for this program.
Yeah.
But after seeing this movie and going back through it a second time, they weren't picking this family because they had lost a child and it would be a good fit psychologically. They were picking because this
Loyalty.
family was a good fit for David's psychological development.
Gotcha.
And I honestly feel like there's a subplot where Henry, what's the other kid's name?
Martin.
Martin. I
Martin.
don't know why I came with Henry. I
I
almost
think
feel
Henry's
like there's
the dad,
I
isn't
think
it?
Henry is the
Henry's
dad.
the
Henry is the
dad.
dad. Okay. I feel like there's this unspoken subplot, and maybe I'm just digging way off into the weeds here. That Martin was all ready to recover, but the company owned clinic held that information from the parents so that they can give them David and then put David through the situation of having to vie for his mother's attention, knowing
Oh,
that
okay. I would
knowing that
love
Martin
that.
was
Yeah.
going to go
I was gonna say
home.
if
Very
that was a remake,
interesting.
that would be a twist.
And that's a great way to expand
be
William Hurt's
interesting.
role, right? Because
Yeah.
he just disappears from the film after being, he bookends the film, but I feel like it would be much better if, like you say, he was kind of maybe more involved and pushing David along this path as kind of like the puppeteer, more.
But then this wouldn't
You
be
know.
so much of David's film. It wouldn't be his perspective.
I disagree. I think it still would be. I think you would still have that dynamic there. I think it just kind of emphasizes, it doesn't leave as much open to interpretation, though, about the development of David. And we might pull back the curtain on that portion of it a little bit. I mean, we were talking about Pinocchio earlier, but come on, how many Wizard of Oz references were in this movie?
I was
too?
about to say, yeah.
But when you get towards the end and Hobby starts talking about why David went through the experiences that he did and why it was so important that he did it alone, that wouldn't have the same impact if earlier in the movie we played with the Martin subplot, or that David's existence with Henry and Monica and Martin was really kind of scripted by the corporation.
Mm.
I wouldn't say
scripted, but I wouldn't mind them setting up, like you say, setting up the scenario where, Martin comes back in, and them being a little more perhaps because corporations will do what they think is best for them, and there's all of the best villains in any story always have a good way to justify their actions, and there is a good way for William Hurt's character to justify almost anything to advance artificial intelligence. You know what I mean? Like this is the next step in human evolution. This is, so there. I mean, also, he has a reason for that.
Doesn't David look like Hobby's son?
No, David is 100%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, he's recreating his son. Yeah.
Right. So that's his motivation for doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, he says it in the end that no other family should ever have to go through what I went through with my child. Is basically what he says. And I can kind of see, like, if we went with the whole subplot idea, I can kind of see two shady characters in suits sitting behind one of those frosted white glass partitions at the cryo clinic where Henry and Monica go to visit Martin. I can see like two shady characters being there, be like, I think they would be great candidates, and just kind of leave it like that and open. So that subplot is there, that the corporation absolutely knows about the situation, could influence it, could pull those strings, and kind of have that subplot going. But I don't know. I think it's there enough on its own as it is already, because when Professor Hobby at the end starts describing about how they orchestrated David's life up until he ran away, that's what I took from it. That Martin came home on a schedule, not because he just woke up one day.
He's such a tool.
Before we move into changes, shout out to Chris Rock, cameo in this film. Did you see that?
Oh my God.
Did.
Also, the number of voice actors are like, oh, that's Robin Williams. Oh, that's Meryl Streep. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of them.
This whole movie
was fun.
Packed.
The guy from Entourage is like that stupid kid in the van.
Well, I mean, if you're any good of an actor, of course you want to jump on a movie from Steven Spielberg /
But I must have forgotten that Chris Rock was in it, because when Chris Rock showed up this time when I was watching it, I was like, oh my God. It's like, I don't want to die. All right, anyways. So let's jump on then to kind of discuss more of what we would change about the film. Amy, this is your film. You picked it to remake. Lead us off with like some big changes.
I'm so conflicted because I love this movie, but something just feels off. And I know that it made great money in the box office. It doubled, right? How much it made, even more. But I don't know if it's because you can take the viewpoint of, is this a single story about one mecha, or is this about human race against, AIs? It's jumping around a lot. Doesn't mean it was done badly. Maybe I just need to have a little bit more direction. Also, the way it ends too, it's not a bad ending. I feel like it could be changed a little bit. So hard. I regretted picking this movie as a remake the second after I finished watching it. And I feel like Pat just pumped me up because he's like, yeah, redo that. I'm like, yeah, I just want to rewatch the movie.
Can I
Ah,
can I make a major change then, or
Please.
can I suggest a change for us to do a
I
quick
may not
brief
agree though. I probably won't.
I'll discuss. I'll suggest a brief change that I think would make this very good in today's age.
okay.
We mentioned that the film is in 3 parts. There's kind of that first like part at the house, then he goes to the flesh thing, then Rouge City, then the ferry place in Manhattan. I think this would be a fantastic like 10-hour miniseries, and you could flesh everything out and really explore the world and go deep. And then like the whole first episode is just that first part of the film where they're at the house and they can expand that. And then episode 1 ends with her just leaving him in the fields and telling him not, because like she tells him not to run a certain way. I want to know what way that is. Like, did he end up running the way she told him not to? You know what I mean?
No,
I mean, yes, he did.
No, she meant
No,
don't go towards the company.
Oh, okay.
They're
Yeah.
gonna get you.
Yeah, because you drive past the sign.
Yeah, she's almost ready
when
to
she's
drop
taken
him
out to the
off,
woods,
and
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
he changes her mind.
That's right. Yeah. So I think this would make a great miniseries because, for example, Jude Law's character, Gigolo Joe, great name. You you don't. There's like a whole murder subplot that must have been cut out of the film.
Yeah, that would have
Right?
been that
Like
would have been cool.
he goes
I
to
don't
his
know.
client and she's dead, and then I'm like, did the motel owner kill him and set up Gigolo Joe? Like, I must think that's what happened, but
No,
it's
the
literally
husband
one
did.
scene. Who's
No,
the
that
husband?
scene.
The husband who
this-
came in.
Yeah,
He's like,
Yeah.
this is what you get for having sex with a robot, not me. Have
Yeah,
a nice
But that's
something
the
like
life.
that.
motel owner, isn't it?
No, it's the husband.
The husband.
You remind me of like a really cheap mobster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
We
that
missed
scene
it.
served its purpose. Gigolo Joe just had to get out of.
He had to be needed to be a reason for the feds to be chasing him.
There
Yeah, but
needed
you
to be
can-
a
you can
reason for him to
explore-
run away.
Again, in a miniseries, you can explore Gigolo
Yeah.
Joe's character through a
Yeah.
whole episode before that happens. And so, what great miniseries do is they'll have like one episode about one character, one episode
Yeah.
about another character, and then they'll kind of the stories will converge over several episodes and then kind of meet like they do in the movie. And again, you could just dive deeper into the world that we live in right now because there's clearly so much interesting about the world, right? It feels like it feels like a game of Fallout, except you're not allowed to leave the first city you enter, right? That's what this movie feels
No.
like.
I feel like we've talked about doing a whole bunch of movies as a miniseries, and I feel like that's kind of, I don't want to say it's a cop out, but it's like, what's the point of a movie then? Like,
That's a great question.
What's the point of good writing and good, cinematography and vision if you have to take 10 episodes to tell your story?
I think
We
it's
just
more
want
like-
more.
I
We
feel
just
like,
want
yeah,
more.
you want more, but like,
But I
It's-
disagree with that. I think it's television that's gotten closer to film, not the other way around. Right?
right.
yeah, the caliber has moved away from sitcoms and
Yeah.
reality.
We're probably
and
moving
into
back
good
actually. We're
stories.
actually past
Um,
peak TV now, and we're moving back towards we need to pump these out and do it real quick. Like look at all the Disney Plus shows. They're filmed in like a room with a giant screen, you know what I mean? It's all
Yeah.
very cut and paste now.
I'm not sure that normally I'm right there with you. Normally I'm the one saying, yes, absolutely. I want more depth in this world. Even Silo is a mini series already, and I don't have enough depth in that world. Like, I want more. But I'm not sure this movie would do as well being broken up that way. I think you lose some of the suspense and some of the discovery.
And you lose some of the magic. And I feel like that this movie assumes that its audience is smart. It doesn't think its audience is stupid and needs everything spoon-fed to you. Like when I was watching this movie, so I cried at the end. And I didn't cry at the end because, the mom died after after David brought her back for one day. That's not why I cried. I cried because my understanding of the film was that adopted children need love too, and that all children are worthy of love. That was the theme that I took. And like getting to the end and having that kind of hit all at once was just overwhelming. And it kind of like broke my heart. And I was just like, but like, I don't know if I could have, like, I don't know if I would have come to that same conclusion if I'd seen it in like a 10 episode miniseries or whatever.
I think the beats of this movie that hit the way that they hit would have to be shown the same way in a miniseries as they are in a movie. That yes, you can tangent off and go in a day of the life of Gigolo Joe and give us some backstory there, but I think at the end of the day, you still hit all the same beats as the movie. And that for you to get that emotional response that you did when, you know, David finally got the love and acceptance from Monica that he was always searching for, like for you to get that, for it to land the way that it did, I think you need to experience it exactly the way that the movie did.
Right.
And I think all we're doing is stretching out a good story for more content. And I don't think this particular film would be helped by that.
I agree. And I think a pitfall of a lot of miniseries and otherwise that a lot of miniseries and whatnot are encountering right now is that they are making another episode just for the sake of making another episode.
Bottle
it's
episodes.
Like we've got a 10 episode order, but we only have 8 episodes worth of content. So we're going to think of stuff to do. And then it lags in the middle and you could feel it. Like one of the seasons of Stranger Things did that. I think it was the most recent one. Like the 3rd season of Ted Lasso did that a little bit. It doesn't need that. And I think that this movie gives us enough for our minds to play the rest on its own and for us to take it and run and to have that extra step of, you know, thinking and, you know, imagining what else happens within that world without spelling it out for us.
You know what I would like to actually see? Kind of your point, Pat, of maybe make it a miniseries, is David's gone. And we're in that time where he's underwater staring at the blue fairy. And that's where our series starts.
Post-apocalyptic.
What happens? What happens? How does Professor Hobby react? What happens there? They had everything that they needed. You can still jump in and see what happened with Gigolo Joe. You can still do a prelude or a prequel kind of flashback and develop the story bits from this movie that you want to explore and that you want to dig into and explore the world in a more open way. If you don't have the restrictions of looking through the eyes of David.
I feel like that we're on our soapbox and we're not going to convince him, Beast.
No, I can see your point of view. Where I'm coming from, it is more of a world building stuff. So you can explore more, you know, in our imaginary miniseries here, you could explore more of kind of you could expand the themes, right? For example, like the human mob kind of, the idea that like mob rule is kind of programming in the same way that like AIs are programmed, right? You know, you see it on the internet all the time, just people getting made to be angry about things and acting in a way that they probably wouldn't act in real life. So you can kind of have this like mob mentality that works almost like a program in a way, and so you can kind of like discuss those themes and many other things, but I won't discuss it too much further, but I could see it both ways, right? Or you could do Kevin Costner is doing a film that's just going to be a 6-hour movie that he's cutting into 2 parts, and he's just doing part 1 and part 2 there, or like what Dune is doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's definitely no reason why you couldn't maybe do a long 2-part movie that's like filmed back to back and like released like a couple months later. Like I think Kevin Costner's film is going to be, it's a Western. It's going to be like one's released in July or June and one in August, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, I think that format would fit better.
Yeah.
than something like a miniseries. It's a little bit of a compromise from a miniseries because the time on screen is a little bit lower.
Yeah, and you can structure it the way that I think you and Andrea want to structure it, right? So you can end part one of the film on like a certain point, and you don't need to end each episode on a high or low note. So the
like
only
you
thing
could have Manhattan be the break point.
I still disagree.
Like you can do a flyover of Manhattan, and then they've achieved their goal. They made it to the place that they were going to go. Fade to black. Part 2 comes out, and you find out that David is sentient because X, Y, and Z, and the whole going underwater and meeting the not aliens,
fair,
and all of that.
All right, I'm going to untangent us now. That was an interesting tangent.
So, Nick, would you change anything in this movie, or did you kind of put your opinion in with?
I kind of listen every time we have one of these podcasts. I kind of just make my changes along the way. It's a bad habit. I really need to keep it with everybody else. But honestly, I think I like the idea of like shortening this movie a little bit and making a second part. You can flesh out a little bit of the world like we were talking with Pat, but maybe also explore some of those subplot ideas where you can allude to or hint at evil corporations being evil without actually getting into it, so that the reveal at the end isn't spoiled and maybe even enhanced a little bit. I'd like to see something like that. But otherwise, I think it's pretty good as it is.
I think the one change that I've kind of touched on a little bit, it was more like a criticism of the film, which is William Hurt's character doesn't feel like a big enough part of the film for me. But we've kind of had that discussion. I think it was Nick, you and I earlier in the podcast about like what that would look like, what that would feel like. But for me, kind of that beginning part is a little bit because I loved the movie when I first saw it, and then when we were rewatching it the other night, the first like 10 minutes have passed and I was like, wait a minute, is this movie terrible? And then I just never noticed. And then luckily it I was like, oh no, this is good. I remember this being good, and it was good. But like that's actually, it's kind of a rough like first like 10 minutes or so between the William Hurt stuff, and then you jump, Nick, like you said, into the very quick, like, we're adopting a robot. I'm not telling my wife about it. Surprise, it's a robot. Oh, I'm mad. Just kidding. I love it. Like, that's like 15 minutes, and that probably needs to be like more. And I know that extends the runtime, but it does feel a little rushed. I don't know what I would change to make that better. And again, it's hard to question Steven Spielberg's directing and editing chops.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
He's a fantastic director.
No, he's not. 3 words. Ready Player One.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah, well that's
pretty good.
I mean, he's made some bad movies, but not many. Like his track record's pretty good. I'm saying if you swing the bat as many times as Steven Spielberg gets, it's hard to get as many home runs as he has. He's like the Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth struck out sometimes. He also hit the most home runs ever, and he was a real fat guy.
I thought that was Mark McGuire.
No, that's Jerry Maguire.
No.
Yeah, y'all are a hot mess.
Mark
McGuire was the home run king that got Babe Ruth's record, but I see where you're going because Babe Ruth, everyone knows Babe Ruth.
Yes, and also Babe Ruth didn't take steroids or something.
Yeah.
Also known as not cheating. He didn't cheat.
Well, nobody really knows they didn't test for that shit back then.
Yep.
Okay, that's fair. No, look at that dude. Go look at a picture of Babe Ruth. That dude is not cheating. That dude was eating like 50 potatoes a day. If that's cheating, well, let me tell you.
For everyone listening, the secrets to home runs?
Potatoes.
Boil them, mash them, put them in a stew.
Stick them in a stew. Potato.
Okay, so we don't have a ton of changes then. Let's move on then to casting. As per the usual, whenever we cast a film that has a child in it, especially a child who is so prominent in the film,
It's hard
the main
as
actor.
shit.
It's very, very hard. We're not over here being like, oh, so and so is like a 10-year-old that we keep track of because we love their acting. Like that's generally not what we do. In fact, I find that even people in like actors in like the early 20s, I just don't know who they are a lot of the times because I didn't
Yeah.
grow up with them. So I do have a pick for David, and it's okay if you didn't pick someone.
I do have a pick for David. I
Okay.
had to do some research and a lot of YouTube watching
Okay. All right. So
because
we'll
I didn't
pick
have time to watch 3 movies today.
fair.
True.
Fair. So we will go then with David. Amy, you okay with judging before you give us your pick?
Yeah, sure.
All right. In that case, Amy, you pick the order. Who's going first?
Let's do Nick, Andrea, Pat.
Ah,
Okay.
no.
I was just going from left to right in my mind
Oh.
and visually.
Okay.
This is the
Well,
podcast.
for David, I went with Darlene instead of David, and I picked Julia Butters.
Her last name is
Oh,
Butters.
okay.
How
Her
unfortunate.
last name is Butters.
And
Um,
who?
She was in Gray Man.
Oh.
Oh,
Yes,
that's a
That
good
probably
movie.
knows her.
yes.
Very underrated action film.
Yeah.
It's still on my list to watch, but I did the
We
YouTubing
watched
thing.
it.
We did not.
Yes, we
If-
did. I
if-
remember seeing it.
If quote unquote we watched it, then you watched it and I didn't.
It's
No, we watched it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
With Chris
Appa-
Evans
she's
and Ryan Gosling. Yeah, we
Yep.
watched it together.
Oh crap, we did.
Yes,
Okay, then yeah, I totally know who Julia Butters is.
and Nick, you loved that film obviously because you remember it, of course.
Yeah.
She's also in
Oh, yeah.
The Fablemans, which is a Steven Spielberg film, and it was in a film by Quentin Tarantino, so she's got some chops, obviously.
Now, how old is this actress right now? I know it's hard to pick.
14.
right now.
Okay.
And that was tough. So if memory serves, Haley Joel Osment was like 11 or 12.
11.
11 when this movie was released, not even when
Yeah.
it was in filming. So finding a child actor at 10 years old right now to
It's
be filmed
hard.
for a movie like this that's gonna have some sort of experience for us to pull on, virtually impossible. So I kind of just leaned into the child actors that have some chops that we've been able to see
Yeah.
and close enough on the age range.
That's fair. That's a good pick. It's a good pick. Andrea, who did you pick?
I had to go back and the names, I don't remember. I picked an actor called Judah Hill.
Ah, yes.
He is he was in a Kenneth Branagh movie called Belfast. I have not seen this movie, but I like did some researching and did a lot of research on YouTube to be like, okay, what is this kid's demeanor? Does he seem like he would be able to do it? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all I got.
That
That's
was
fair.
actually one of the kids that I stumbled across while I was looking up young or just children actors at or around 10 years old. This was one of the names, but I had no context and I tried to do the YouTube thing and I just personally didn't get a lot from it. But of what I did see, there were a couple of those snap changes from like loving, caring child to demonic little bastard that I think would translate well into soulless machine.
Yeah.
Like
he seemed like when I was listening to him like talk and get interviewed and stuff like that, he seemed very intelligent, he seemed very precocious. And like he could hold his own fairly well. And like he could do well, I suppose. I don't know.
well, this movie would be a proving ground for someone.
It would.
Yeah. I've got 2 picks, but one is kind of cheating. My first pick is Madeline Una Voles, who has only made one film, and it's a film I saw in theaters recently. It's called The Creator. I talked briefly about it on the podcast where we reviewed Final Fantasy because those films are similar. She was 7 years old during the filming of that film, and she is fantastic for a 7-year-old in that film. She does a great job, and she also plays a robot in the film.
Oh no,
Oh, shit.
that's good.
Yeah, which I didn't think of until like I was just saying that out loud. I'm like, oh yeah, she's a robot in that film too, of course. But again, I really enjoyed the creator, and I thought she was great in it. So as soon as we were watching the film, and I was like, oh my god, I have to cast a child actress, I immediately thought of her. So I didn't switch. Nick, I don't know if you did this. I didn't switch gender because I thought it would be interesting to see a female David. I just thought she would be a good actress.
I honestly did a gender switch because I needed to open my scope of searching.
Okay.
There were a lot of child actors that were male that I just didn't have enough context with, or hadn't seen any movies that they were in.
Yeah.
So I really said, you know what? Screw it. Just all child actors between the ages of 8 and 13, and just ran down the like Wikipedia entry and nominations and YouTube shorts and whatnot. But yeah, that's where I ended up.
Fair. My
Right.
my second suggestion is something that Stanley Kubrick was thinking about, which is to actually make a computer generated child, like not have an actor
And
or actress.
maybe do a voice actor.
That would suck.
Well, yeah, it'd be a voice actor, but you could do it with today's technology, a la Avatar
That is
or
true.
Final
This
Fantasy, like we
was
talked about.
20 plus years ago. It could happen. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do it, but like your actors would be just basically talking to like a green tennis ball.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons.
I mean, you know, there's lots of great films where they do that now. But I agree. You could have like a child, you know, a person stand in, a la Avatar, the way James Cameron films his Avatar films, which is even if they're completely computer generated, he has someone standing there. But and then you model it around them. But I think that might be interesting because of the context of the film and the context of the discussion around AI these days. That would be an interesting mix and maybe like a poignant point for the film.
Huh.
So, Amy,
I got to pick.
you got to pick, and then you got to tell us your pick for the child.
So, like all the other people in this podcast, I had much difficulty because honestly, I don't know why I picked this movie. I loved every single actor in it. But it's so hard to, go against Haley Joel Osment. I will I pick Andrea's pick.
Oh, yeah, cool.
Ooh.
Have you seen that movie?
No, but the fact that you put so much effort into it, I appreciate it. And honestly,
Wow.
Pity.
not pity because
Wow.
I knew that. And in another one of my casting, I'm not going to say, but I did switch the gender role. I just thought for this role, switching it to a female would put it on another level that I just didn't want more interpretation of the movie, not to sound
You
sexist
sexist.
or feminist. I'm just saying.
When will the white man's suffering end?
Wow.
Jesus.
Wow.
That went from 0 to 100.
Oh my God.
Next character.
Before
Gigolo
we move-
Joe, what do you know?
Before we move from there, I feel like I need to defend myself now. Like, I see where you're coming from, and I did have those thoughts too when I was picking my pick, but that's why I tried to keep the actor young,
Yeah.
younger, so that any sort of sexuality doesn't really come into it yet.
Yeah.
And the reason why I justified it in my mind, because not all roles should or could be gender swapped easily, but this one, literally at the end of the movie, you saw David and Darlene boxes.
That is true.
Yes.
So that's why I was like,
Absolutely.
I saw, yeah.
I'm gonna make a Darlene and not a David, and gender swap it that way.
I really liked the mother son.
Yeah, that was a good dynamic there.
Because
that's fair.
that's just me personally. I liked that. Maybe because I'm not a son and I can't really think like that in my mind. I just
would
yours
you
is a
say
good
that
pick.
if we Would you say that if we did that, we'd have to make it like a daddy-daughter dynamic instead? Like daddy and
I don't know.
No, I don't think so, because there's something about mothers. There's something about a mom.
I don't know, because dads can have their princesses.
True, but
I would say you'd want it to be the opposite.
Yeah.
If it's a daughter, you want it to be a father. If it's a son, you want it to be a mother. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a good a good thing for the film is kind of like, you know, like you said, dads have their princesses, you know, mothers like to mother their boys, that type of thing. So
But saying it out loud, are we stereotyping?
no,
Yeah.
I just think that's the way the
feel like-
world works. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't
would
want it
agree
to
with
work
you,
like
but
that.
like the more I think about it, the less I like it. Like I would normally agree, and like God, I was the one that said it, but like the more and more I mull it over, the more I'm like, I don't. There's enough examples in my life today that that's not really true. Like maybe that was the stereotype, and maybe that's the way that it was, but I think as a society we might be moving away from that a little bit.
I hope
you
so.
know,
I think so, but
there's
I
that
think in a
saying where
positive
it's
way.
like you
you know?
just
Oh, sure.
like there's that saying where it's just like sometimes you just need your mom.
Yeah.
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 Nick, to be clear, I didn't I didn't gender swap the mother. Did you?
I did
Did
not.
you change Monica's? Okay. So if when we get to that, just everyone FYI that like we're still casting a female for
Yeah, that's
Monica.
fine.
So
Yeah, I honestly
Um,
didn't consider it until Amy and
yeah.
I were chatting about it.
fair. Yeah, and I didn't really consider like what a daughter would look like with monikers as well. I just kind of wanted to pick an actress I'd seen recently. So
And you said she was good, so
She'd
I
still need therapy, that's for sure.
yeah.
Well, I mean, your kid's locked in a cryo tube, so yeah, I think therapy is kind of one of the givens at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Amy, did you tell us who your person was?
No, not yet. My pick is
Tell
Julian
us your
Hillard.
secret. Julian Hillard.
He is one
Oh!
of he's one of the two twins in WandaVision. He's the one
Oh.
with the cute little face and a smile that warms your heart.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I think he just looks cute. I had a really rough time. Do you know what the actor I did want to pick was? And I think he's just a little too old. Originally, the actor that was in Jojo Rabbit.
I looked at
Oh,
him.
yeah. What's his
But
name?
right now he's pushing past preteen. And
I figure if he's between 11 and 15, they'd be fine.
Roman Griffin Davis?
um
Is that the kid?
yeah,
Yeah.
in
He's
Jojo
16.
Rabbit,
Ooh.
he
Yeah.
looked like he'd be right in the age for
Yeah.
a mecha doll.
That's the thing.
Yeah,
If
but that was
we're
4 years ago.
Exactly.
So
That's
that
what I
would have been
mean.
perfect.
In my mind,
with child actors, if they were in a film in 2019, that was almost 5 years ago. And if it was in 2019, they filmed it in 2018 or 17,
Yeah.
that means that 9-year-old is 15. They're a full-on teenager now. And you can tell the age, right? If you notice the characters drop off in the Harry Potter films, some of the characters disappear because the actors got too old too quick. And they literally could not play children anymore. There's some background actors that kid who plays Colin, who's like kind of the weird geeky kid in the second movie. He like disappears. Yeah, and he's like a minor character in the books too. But like he literally just aged out of the role. Like he grew into an adult at like 13. Like he just kept getting taller.
In the books, he doesn't show up past like the second one either.
Well, sure, but like the point
he's around, but yeah, but like they constantly have like the background actors like every now and then will change, and a lot of times it's like, yeah, this kid was like 15 and we made him play a 10-year-old and now he's like 23. You know what I mean? So all right, let's move on from the child actor then and go on to Gigolo Joe. Nick.
all right, Nick.
Oh boy. All right. So this one was tough because I wanted real bad to go to a few of my staple
Shyamalan?
picks.
Oh no, not Shyamalan.
No, I went with someone completely different and completely new to me.
Oh, him.
Dane DeHaan. was recently in Oppenheimer. He was in Valerian.
Oh, that guy.
Not like
He was in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, he was one of the like. I want to say like the B cast group, when they're like
Gotcha.
all sitting around the circle and they're talking about, oh well, what if we make an H bomb instead? And like
He was also in that really good movie Valerian that everyone loved.
oh
It's
god.
terrible.
I have.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I hate this guy in almost every movie he's been
I
in.
don't
He
Oh,
hate
looks
no.
robotic though. He does.
That's why I went with
but
it. It's
he's
because
a sex robot, attractive kind of robot.
listen. If
I
you're
don't
buying
think he's a
sex
good actor
robot,
at all.
Are you really worried about that part of it?
I would be.
All right.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2, trash. Cure for Wellness, very overrated. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, very, very
Pat,
disappointing.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because this may make me revoke my own choice. Does he have a Pat level punchable face?
I actually was just thinking, like, should I put him on the punchable face list? You know what, though? He's not a good enough actor to be on the punchable face list.
Oh no!
You have to at least be someone who, like, man, I like you in this role, but I still want to punch you.
No.
Whereas I just don't want to see him. I don't want to punch him because I don't want to see him.
Oh snap.
I'm trying to
Oh,
think of a movie that he
no.
was in that I enjoyed his performance, and this is nothing personal. It's it's very subjective what you like and
Whereas
don't like.
with Chris Pratt, it's personal.
Chris Pratt has some good performances. He's a good action hero. Listen, Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets is like on my list of remakes because of how disappointed I was when I saw it, and I just wanted that movie to be so good, and both the leads in that movie, I can't remember the female actress's name, but they were both
Cara Delevingne.
they were so poor, both of them. It's like, can you please give these people acting classes? They feel like they're both models and they
no.
accidentally became actors.
Because Cara Delevingne was a model.
Perfect.
No.
Keep staring straight ahead with no expression. That's what you're good at.
So Amy,
Yes.
if you really want to upset Pat, you pick my pick for this round.
That's true. All right. Listen, I can respect your pick in the idea that you kind of want him to be like this kind of android character, you know what I mean? Like, he's certainly not an ugly person. I feel like he could pull it off, even if I don't think he has the chops for the role.
I wasn't going based on actor skill for this one, honestly. I
Yeah.
was looking who looked like a robot. Because
he does look like Jude Law if Jude Law was a drug addict. I'll give you that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't want this to sound like a knock against Jude Law, but that character had very little depth.
Yes,
Like,
that's true. Yeah.
There's not much that this actor really needs to do other than be someone for David to hold hands with and get to Manhattan. Like, that's all that character is really there for.
I agree. So
yeah. I was really going on looks, and this guy looks like he could be a robot.
No.
Yeah.
Joe had some level of care for David.
Yeah, but
a little bit. I agree that I think his role should have been fleshed out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he did his character again. It's from David's perspective, but Gigolo Joe didn't really have an arc of any kind whatsoever. But
nope.
All right, Andrea, who did you pick for Gigolo Joe?
Ryan Gosling. And he's already played a robot before, so
That's
he'd
true.
be perfect. Honestly, I hadn't thought about Blade Runner 2048. It's not about how old you are, it's how old you can play.
She's actually got to see Ryan Gosling as a gigolo.
Listen,
He's got a very symmetrical face.
He just played Ken, so I feel
like
like
a robot with an unsymmetrical face.
Yeah, he just played
Why am
Ken.
I screaming?
And also, like, it's not like, I mean, Jude Law is dressed the entire film in like
a suit-ish,
like a trench
coat, Fred Astaire type of rubber.
It's not like he's any sort of eye candy or anything like that. I just think he's a good actor. He can play an automaton, and has multiple times.
I agree. He's a good
And
actor.
he
He's
also
like Jude Law
has
level.
that like dancing sort of background that that means that he's like a little bit, he can frolic like
Yeah.
Fred Astaire.
Poor Nick is already realizing his pick is never going to be picked.
Yeah, Andrew has got even me convinced over here with especially with the dancing thing. He dances like all the time.
Yeah, what's your pick?
Yes. I mean, Jude Law actually used Fred Astaire and some other 1950s, you know, Sing in the Rain type film actors as a reference for Joe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fine.
I went with Jack Rayner, who was in Midsummer, which was a movie we enjoyed. Was in Kin, which is a very underrated indie sci-fi flick that Amy and I have seen. Remember, it's the one about that kid who finds the alien gun.
Mm-hmm.
Really great movie. He plays the older brother.
Okay.
And then most recently, and I think really well done, The Peripheral, which is an Amazon TV show, which unfortunately I think is going to get canceled season. So we will get.
He the brother?
He's the brother, and yeah,
Okay.
so there. So I think he's a decent actor, and I think he hasn't had a breakout role, right? Like Kin wasn't breakout role. Peripheral he was good in. Apparently he was in a Transformers movie. I don't watch them. And in Midsummer, Florence Pugh got the kind of plaudits there, and everyone else kind of fell to the side. So I think that he is the type of actor you could put in this role, and he could do well in it because he's a good actor, and then it could be kind of a breakout role for him.
Mm.
And he's very handsome. Look at him.
Except I don't like him because he's Pat's pick.
Wow. You don't like him because he's Irish, right? You're notoriously anti-Irish.
I am Irish.
Exactly, you're anti-Irish.
What?
All
That
right.
makes no
The self,
sense.
the
So
self-loathing,
I
the
have to
self-loathing.
And and honestly, I'm gonna go with Andrews again because Ryan Gosling was gonna be my pick. I'm like, oh wait, he was a robot.
Buddy.
Oh wait, he was plastic and fake. Now I do not think he played in the Barbie movie very well. I thought he acted very horribly.
Really?
Sorry. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Intriguing.
That's fine.
I think he's a great actor, and Blade Runner makes up for it.
You liked La La Land, didn't you?
Yeah, of course.
God, I
That's not,
hated
but
that
that's
movie.
besides the point.
I hated La La Land. It was such a circle
And
jerk.
Google it. Oh wait, I'm sorry. And look it up. He has a very symmetrical face. Mic dropped. I don't know.
All right.
For some
Enough
reason
said.
I got stuck on this person has to look almost unrealistic.
I mean,
But
he's perfect.
still- Yeah,
So
but that's
it's like-
yeah.
All right,
You have
ladies.
to have, if you're no, I mean perfect
Ladies.
in the sense that the character. Like if you're gonna
Ladies.
have a sex robot, he better be perfect, right? Am I wrong?
Yeah, he is
Ladies.
pushing a little old though.
Ladies.
Yes.
You kidding
yes.
me?
Next character.
All right, and then Amy, I've looked over on your sheet, and I have to tell you, your pick was who I originally picked before this guy. So I'm very sad that we didn't have our first actual crossover. I should have stuck with my guns. So who did you
Who
pick
is-
for Jake?
My actual pick after not picking Andrew's pick was Nicholas
Hoyt.
Hoyt.
X-Men, The Menu,
Yeah.
Oh, Nicholas Holt.
Holt.
Oops. My pick was Nicholas Holt.
I'm not editing that out.
Please do.
If my pronunciation mistakes stay in, so do yours.
Because my writing's chicken scratch. It says Hoyt on my paper.
Yeah, that is a good pick
Well,
and someone I definitely considered.
He's
There
a good
is
actor.
Nicholas Hoyt.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think he's a
But-
good actor. He's of the age where I don't know, I think he's just good. Do I have to explain it more?
Well said.
Thank
I
you.
think he's just good, quote unquote. Put it on the box. All right.
Good as Jude Law. I really don't
Wow.
dislike any character in this movie.
That's
Who
fair.
picked this horrible movie to remake?
Yeah. Who? Yeah.
oh, some person.
Let's move on then to the professor. Can I just do a quick tangent here
Oh.
and say I hate when filmmakers name characters so on the nose. Like in Interstellar, there was a guy called Dr. Mann but with two N's, and I hated it. This guy's called Professor Hobby, and I just hate the
it.
I hate the fact
hate
that his
that
name is Professor Hobby. Anyways,
Good tangent.
yeah, thank you. Tangent over.
hate it.
Nick, Professor Hobby, who'd you pick?
I don't know that I want to share. I might get torn apart again.
Yeah, go for
No.
it.
It's most of the fun.
I'm listening.
I went with Mark Strong.
Oh, wait,
Oh,
is
I
he
do
still
love-
alive?
What?
Oh yeah. Well, of course he is. He's been bald for a long time, but that doesn't mean he's old. Incredible
he was
actor.
Dead.
No.
Oh my god! Thank
No.
goodness.
Don't you say those words out loud.
Yeah, Andrea, you have like
The man is a national treasure.
for a nation he's not even from. I agree.
I know.
He is 60 though. That's old.
grandfathering
That's
him
older
in.
than I thought he would be.
When you're that good,
I'm very
Come
glad he's
on.
not dead.
I
when
mean,
you've been bald for your whole life and then you get to be like 70, so long as you can stop the wrinkles, you can still look like you're 25.
he's so taut.
Yeah,
He's like Steve Martin. Steve Martin has been white. Has white hair his entire life.
yeah, he turned white at 30 and then he's just been like 55 for like 70 years.
Good for him.
no, this
That's a
guy
good
is
pick.
great.
Yeah,
This guy is
agree.
great. He was what's his face in Sherlock, the same-ish role in Kingsman. Oh God, Kingsman.
Kingsman was good, yeah.
So good.
But like,
And honestly, yeah,
he's
he
amazing.
seems.
Have you
Really
have
good
you guys
pick.
ever seen you probably haven't. It's a very underrated film, The Brothers Grimsby.
I've heard of it.
It's like a
No.
British like comedy thriller with Sacha Baron Cohen, who I love.
Oh no.
But Mark,
Jesus.
he plays an idiot, and Mark Strong is his brother, and his Mark Strong works as a spy, and his dumb-witted brother, and him have to like save like the World Cup from a bomb. But the brother, Sacha Baron Cohen, just plays like a soccer hooligan, and so they make him go undercover. It's pretty good. Like it's not great, but it's good in a very specific way, if you know what I mean.
On a scale from 0 to Tucker and Dale versus Evil, where does this fall?
It's like right below. It's like a couple of notches below Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh,
Okay.
Because
Okay.
Tucker and Dale versus Evil is like perfect, like just on the nose, like just perfect in every way.
I did not like that movie.
Wow.
All right. To help me further identify, on a scale of 0 to Moonfall.
Oh, it's not bad.
I
It's a little quirky. It's a little bit corny, but it's not Moonfall. Not even close.
Okay, so I should
Well,
actually put it
Notoriously,
on
the
the list of
in
things
this
to
film, the moon actually stays in the sky the whole time.
watch.
shocking.
Movie of the year.
Yeah. Wow, masterpiece. 10 out of that's Nick's only rating. Does the moon stay in the sky? 10 out of 10.
We'll see again.
All right, I'll add it to the list of to be watched.
Highly recommend.
Okay. Yeah.
Andrea, what's your
Okay.
pick?
Yeah.
Sam Neill.
Big sads. Sam Neill. He has cancer.
he-
He's gonna die.
Oh yeah, I did see he had cancer, but I thought it was fine. Like it was
Oh.
operable. It wasn't gonna be bad. He
I
was
just-
just in the last Jurassic Park.
Listen, I don't read news articles about actors. Okay. I just saw the
It's
headline.
in remission.
Oh, okay. I thought I saw a headline that says Sam Neill has made peace with death, and I was like, all right, fine.
Well, yeah, it's the clickbait
Jeez.
full.
Yeah, clickbaity.
Because, like,
Yeah.
he made some content or some comment about how he's not particularly interested in the development of his cancer, but it was when taken out of context, or it was taken out of context in that he's not particularly interested because it's under control and his doctors are doing what they need to do.
Gotcha. Man,
So-
he's 76 too.
Wow.
Crazy.
Mhm. But yeah, he'd
But
be
he would-
perfect for.
He would fill that role.
Yeah. That is a good pick. I think he's a terrific actor. That is fair. I did a keep an actor, but
You did a
obviously
thing.
William Hurt is
Oh, okay.
sadly passed. I've just moved Jude Law over to the professor because he's actually old enough to play a professor, and I think he would do a good job. Like one of the very few things that's good about the newer Harry Potter films, the prequels. The first Fantastic Beasts film was great. The second and the third one were awful, to the point where I grew up with Harry Potter. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. I didn't even bother
So did
with the
rest
third
of
one.
us.
Yeah, I didn't even bother with the third one. But Jude Law
I saw
plays
it was
a great-
trash.
Yeah, Jude Law plays a great Dumbledore, though.
He
I'll say that.
does. His
So-
Dumbledore is so good.
Yeah.
He's great.
So I picked Jude Law. I moved Jude Law from Gigolo Joe to the Professor based on his performance in the second film, the second Fantastic Beasts
20
film.
years later.
I'm
Yeah.
annoyed with myself that I haven't never like I didn't watch a film with Jude Law in it until about like 5 years ago.
Oh wow,
I know, and I'm like kicking myself
Mistakes were
because he's
made.
really good.
he is.
He
Yeah.
is.
He's
Yeah.
a good actor.
National treasure.
Agreed.
No, that's
Everyone's a
Nicholson.
national treasure for Nick these days.
Right. So
Yeah,
I
I
had
know,
to
right?
pick. I had to pick the best, my favorite out of
Yes.
all of them.
You know what you do.
I'm gonna pick Nick's pick.
Yes.
Ooh.
I think both the actors are good. But for some reason, I think I don't know.
Baldy.
I remember watching Kingsman and feeling like he had a heart.
He
And I
did.
know that's just the
He did.
most recent movie I've seen him in, but I thought this would be definitely someone that could maybe show a different light in characters.
Okay. Who'd you pick?
My pick, I picked a gender swap. For Professor Hobby, I chose Glenn Close
Oh, that's a great pick.
because she is a
Interesting.
great actress.
Absolutely.
And
Wow.
honestly,
Hello.
I thought it would be a good perspective from the movie itself. And she's a
I
great
mean,
actress. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because the gender of the professor doesn't matter at
It
all,
doesn't
right?
matter
So
at all.
No.
I agree.
I did appreciate that, it was a father wanting his son, but it doesn't have to be. It's
No,
just about anybody mourning a loss of a child and how inconceivable it is.
Fair.
Yeah.
Before we move on to Monica, I just want to congratulate us. All four of those actors were great.
Yeah.
I feel like any of those
All
actors
right.
would make a great the professor.
Yeah,
but
Professor
mine was
Hobby.
picked.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
There.
Jesus.
You know what? I mostly wanted to steal credit away from Nick, but congratulations to everyone else as well.
Yay.
Honestly,
pick,
I
damn
did
it.
like all those, except for Pat's.
Damn it.
Yes.
Actually, I thought I don't know.
You're just not a Jude
He's
Law
a
fan now.
professor. I don't know about a professor of cybertronics. How about that?
You only want him as a magic professor.
I only want him the magic,
Fair.
the magic kind.
All right. Let's move on then to our last pick, who is Monica, the mother.
The mother.
Nick, take us away.
I went with Emily Blunt.
All right. She's very motherly. And
Yep.
she looks a lot like the original actress who I forgot the name. Shame on me.
Frances O'Connell?
O'Connor, I think.
Yes.
O'Connor.
I wrote it down. Yes, of course. Frances O'Connor.
I don't know why, but when I was trying to think of someone to put in here, I wasn't thinking of like Oppenheimer or Quiet Place or Mary Poppins or anything like that. I was thinking Emily Blunt from Edge of Tomorrow
Oh.
because she was kind of like cold and disconnected in that and didn't warm up towards the end of that until towards the end of that movie when
When she became the version of the mother that David wanted to have.
yeah. So I don't know, that's in my head it was Edge of Tomorrow, not
Okay.
not one of the other ones.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah.
Andrea,
That's my pick.
I picked Carrie Mulligan.
I'm jealous. I love this pick. She's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't even want an award, Amy. Don't give me an award. Just give it. I know you were going to pity pick my Monica, but just don't.
Carrie Mulligan from what though? Like as an example.
No.
Just from being a good actress and things, Nick.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
She was in one of my favorite movies of whenever it came out, like a couple years ago, Promising Young Woman. Did you guys see that movie?
No.
It was
Yeah.
like a
Okay, I
revenge
saw it with
thriller.
you.
Yeah, it was a revenge
Yeah.
thriller, but I really liked the way they did kind of the revenge plot. And she plays a really, really good. She's like filled with grief and anger, but she's not necessarily an angry person. It's hard to explain. You just have to watch the movie. I really enjoyed it though. I thought it was great.
Okay.
And your pick, Pat.
I regret my pick because I went through like 10 actresses And then I'm like, screw it, I'll pick this one. I think she's good, but I don't know if it quite works. I went with Tessa Thompson,
Oh,
and
but I don't think she fits this. Sorry.
why not?
Like,
Tessa Thompson's badass. She's
Yeah.
like an action star. She's like a I'm gonna kill you with a sword action star.
the first thing I saw her in was Westworld.
Yeah.
The second
Yep.
thing I saw her in was Thor, followed by Men in Black, of which we will not speak of. It was a good enough movie in its own right, but it was not a good movie.
She's a great actress, though.
She is a good actress. I think we're kind of unfairly typecasting her because we've seen her. I've only seen like the first Creed, and she was good in it. She was really, really good in Annihilation. She plays kind of like a gentle soul in that.
I really got to see that movie. I read
It's so good.
I enjoyed it. I think she's being unfairly judged as an actress based on like Men in Black and Thor, when like she's very versatile and I think a terrific actress. The reason I went with her is I originally picked someone else from Westworld, the
blonde chick,
the blonde one, Evan Rachel Wood. That was my original pick, and then I was going through. I clicked on a name. I'm like, oh yeah, she would be good. And then I saw Tessa Thompson. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pick Tessa
Honestly,
Thompson.
I think she's a better actress than Evan Rachel Wood.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah. I think they're both
like
good.
Charlotte in Westworld was like a zero fucks given kind of role.
Yeah, they are different. Yeah, but yeah.
But I would like Westworld was my first impression, and then that same kind of like
I think it was. Is it season 2 or 3? She has like a family though, and she did really good in that as kind of like more of a mothering.
She was a robot.
Yeah, she is, but she has the family. Huh. They get killed at the end. But yeah, listen, I think she is a good enough actress, and I think again, the Thor movie, there are some actors who have like all of their big roles are like Marvel films, and then they get, I think it's not that they get unfairly maligned, it's that people haven't seen them have to like really give a performance, right? Like most Marvel actors are like characters, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is a those are popcorn flicks. They're not meant to be like super deep or anything, and they're not based on anything super deep, but I think if you only see an actor in Marvel or films or just big blockbusters, then I think you're kind of missing out on their range. And I think Tessa Thompson does have more range than we give her credit for.
That's fair, but like I said, I saw her in Westworld, and seeing her in Thor was really just a drunk version of her character in Westworld.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like that's kind of where I came from on that. And I'm like, I don't know that fits, but. Fair. You're right. I've added a couple more movies to my list of to be watched.
A couple.
There we go.
Yeah, seriously, I think I've added like 5 from tonight's cast.
We're gonna need to take a year off just to watch movies.
I'm okay with that.
My pick between all you three is Carey Mulligan.
Nice.
Yeah. I like that pick a lot.
I like Emily Blunt. I just for some reason I feel like she's just too much like the original. I agree with both Nick and Pat, so I feel like she has been in mother roles. She was a mother in Drive, and she was very good at it. So
just when I think we can be friends, Amy,
I know
you like that.
But
Andrea can't win because she hasn't seen Promising Young Woman. So
it's okay.
Okay.
So my pick is kind of, I went older.
Andrea, just so you know, I have to edit all of this out because the mic picks up like one half of the words, so it doesn't sound like anything. It's like wah.
Just put them in. Put them in.
You just need a button.
just stop.
No, I love that sound.
If you want to do that sound, learn to do it with your face hole.
It's wah. You're trying to make it a thing. That. It's not a thing.
I want it to be a thing.
It's not a thing.
Not a thing.
I'm sorry. I think the air horn is the funniest sound.
Or the it not being a thing will be the thing. Either way. Amy, go ahead. Who did you pick for Monica?
I chose an actress that is a little bit older, but still, my God, is amazing. And I feel like with this role, if we do end up extending some of the beginning scenes, the first act, as we say, I want to feel this actress's emotions. I picked Olivia Colman. She's not American, but whatever.
Olivia Colman. What would I know her from?
She
So
is
many things.
in so many things. She's in
Broadchurch.
Broadchurch, The Crown. She's in.
You probably haven't seen the movie The Favorite, and I don't recommend it for you guys, but I did think it was well made.
She's just
A lot
her
of British
range.
stuff.
I'm
Hot
The Night
Fuzz.
Manager. She was great in The Night Manager. I can't believe you've never heard of Olivia Colman.
I've heard of her, but I don't think I've
So-
seen anything she's.
Wait, have I not told you guys to watch Fleabag yet?
You
You have. and
Fleabag
they
is like
haven't.
right up there with Ted Lasso, and she's in it as like this
Oh.
crazy mother.
So
She's
yeah.
the crazy policewoman from Hot Fuzz.
she is.
Yes. Yeah.
The like
She
hypersexualized one.
is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But she's so
Okay.
much more than just that. I mean, she has
No.
played
I
almost
just
every single role.
Yeah.
I just couldn't put a name with the face until.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, I just think she would be a
I'm
good
surprised I haven't
fit in
seen
it.
her in.
She's a little old, but I do
I
like her as an actress.
think that matters.
Like
The
like if you haven't seen the
Children are
British,
in comas.
if you true, if you haven't seen the British Broadchurch, especially those first 2 seasons, the 3rd season changes to something completely different, which is fine. I still enjoy it, but the first 2 seasons of the British version of Broadchurch is great.
Did you ever see Landscapers? It's
No,
on one of our streaming sites.
It's on
You have
HBO.
to watch it. It's so
I've heard
good,
I've heard
Matt.
good things, but I got too much. Listen, I've got to finish watching Ted Lasso for the 4th time and then start it for a 5th time.
I think
So I don't
we
have
all
time for
picked
new
very
shows.
Well, all
Yes.
around.
All right,
Yeah.
let's finish up this cast by
We've
asking
gone
a
really
question that I
long.
think we can all answer quite quickly. Should we remake the film? Nick, go.
No.
Andrea, go.
Nope.
Pat, go. No. Amy,
But did you like the movie enough to see a different version of it?
I
We
like
like-
it, but I think it's good the way it is.
Yeah.
it's literally too good. You've picked a movie
I'm
too
just
good.
happy
Yeah,
I
sorry.
opened up Andrea's eyes to watch it for the first time, and you're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's fair.
You know
I
what?
would not remake it if we had to. There's not enough changes.
You know what though? Depending on how long this podcast goes for, eventually I'm gonna run out of movies that I really want to remake, and eventually I just will turn this into, hey, have you guys seen this movie? Let's just watch this movie and talk about it.
I remember when it was coming out, there was so much
There was so much hype.
voice. There was so much hype and talking about the 2 different directors, and they're both different themes. And I'm like, I'm wondering if anyone else picked up on that, because I did. But also, I don't think it matters because it just turned out great. When you got 2 different
Yeah.
great actor or directors, you got a great movie.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll fight each other and like, try and one up or try to push their own motives in their
I'm gonna say, well, one of
agendas.
them's dead.
But in this instance, they couldn't because one of them was dead.
No, God. What I
Editor
was
Pat.
trying to get to is that in a situation like that where you got 2 very high profile directors, they might try to fight each other, push their own agendas and whatnot. But I think Spielberg was doing his best to honor Kubrick in this.
I think
and
he did,
adopt
too.
his
Yes.
ways, and I think he did a good job with it, even though he's dead to me.
Yeah,
What?
that's fair.
Ready Player One.
Except this movie, which you like.
Yeah.
And Jurassic
All
Park.
right. All right, that's the show. We will be back in 2 weeks with our final episode of the year 2023 because we'll be going on a holiday break. So next episode will be the randomizer, and then we'll be on a break after that. Until next time, goodbye.